Who the hell buys and sells in a pandemic and why? Stay tuned. We're going to talk about it right now.
Surely it's only the desperate people, Mark, that are selling during a COVID lockdown.
Why the hell would you do it?
The reality is that is completely false information, guys. The market is thriving. And it's not just here on the northern beaches of Sydney, but we're hearing reports that the market is thriving all over Australia. I was speaking with an agent today who's down in Victoria. I was speaking to another agent today who's up on the North Coast. And both of those agents are reporting that the market is thriving. Stock levels are low, though. There's no doubt about it. But, you know, what's interesting, Mark, is we're not seeing, 30 buyers turning up to these private appointments. Obviously, we can't host open homes here in Sydney at the moment. We can just do the one-on-ones. But what we are seeing is we're seeing the cream on top buyers. That's what I'm calling them. It's like when you what's it called when you're panning for gold and then you just, you find the little nuggets. That's what we're getting at the moment. We're not seeing huge masses of buyers, but the buyers that are out and about are absolutely roaring hot and ready to go. And that's all we need, right? We don't need 30 groups of people coming through properties.
So time would be my probably number one thing at the moment, where they've actually got time to pace it and buy and search and look and, go like that on their phone, on that on their phone, and that on their phone and the whole time. And sellers have got time as well. Get finance, talk to a lawyer, talk to a real estate agent. They've got time.
But, the question here tonight is who would sell or buy during a COVID lockdown? And the reality is stacks of people. So today, interestingly enough, I was actually doing some of my appraisal calls. And I reckon one in every 10 of my prospective vendors that I spoke to had actually changed their tune. So many of the vendors that I was talking to today, true story, were saying to me, look, Lisa, we'd had thoughts that we were going to wait until the end of the year, but now we're thinking we might actually come on the market sooner rather than later. So I was really starting to hear a bit of a pattern. And the reason behind that was they just felt the lockdown was going to go on for so long or much longer than anticipated. And the market's so great. They were like, you know what, we're not going to wait. We're going to do this sooner rather than later and, maximize this market. And rightfully so, Mark. Some of these property prices that we are seeing at the moment, we thought the market was calming down and it started to plateau out for a little while, but I feel like it's actually picked up again. I feel like it's really, really picked up again. And with the buyers...
I'm just shocked that a pandemic can cause prices to go up. And if it hadn't happened before, you wouldn't believe it now. It's weird. Like, honestly, I think it's weird.
So so these lockdowns, certainly here on the northern beaches, they actually seem to be driving the property prices. The good news with the buyers is they're certainly still around. They're in abundance. And the buyers definitely seem to be more experienced with what they need to do. So, whereas let's rewind 3 months ago, the conversations that we would have with buyers would be, look, guys, just give me a really good offer and let's try and get this deal done for you. Give me something good and strong and I'm going to go in batting for you and I'll take something to my vendors. Now these, and then we'd have a guide of, let's say, 2.1 million and they'd give you an offer at 2.1. Now we might have a guide at 2.1 and they're coming in with nice, strong offers and they're really firming it up with their conditions. So they're like, happy to go unconditional this afternoon. I'll get a 66W. I'll have a check to your office this afternoon. They know they've got the experience now and they're doing all the right things. So I'm finding these property transactions are happening very quickly. Go on, Mark.
You know,
You got
but
something to say?
if you're gonna buy, why would you wait? Because the odds are that generally last time you had to pay more. So I think for buyers, they've got more time, like we mentioned, and I think they're thinking, you know what, if I just wait, I'm just going to be paying more for it later, so I might as well do it now. From a buyer's perspective,
You know, when there's uncertainty like there is in the market, where we don't know what's going to happen, we don't know when the next lockdown is, we don't know when we're coming out of lockdown, and we don't really know what property prices are going to do, I'm always saying to my clients, let's work with what we know, right? So for my sellers, what we know right now is the market's great, it's good and strong. We don't know what's going to happen in 3 months' time, and the same information goes out to any of our buyers. Guys, we know what we're dealing with right now. Offer strong, because if the market moves up, how lucky are you that you've parked your money in a market that you've just made a decent amount of money on? It's unlikely the market's going to go down. The market doesn't go down. We're certainly not seeing any signs that it will go down. And so, you know, again, it's always best that you're working with certainty. So, you know, why would people transact during a pandemic? This has become our weird new normal. It's just become our weird new normal. So, you know, lockdown, pandemic, whatever's going on, people are like, oh, it's this COVID lockdown thing again. Correct. So, you know, they're just getting on with it, Mark. You know, we're not dealing with the uncertainty that we were 12 to 16 months ago. We're dealing with stuff now that we know. And the pandemics are just reiterating and driving home to people even further why they want to move. Why they were thinking about moving 16 months ago, and now they're going, you know what, stuff this, we're doing it. We're moving to the northern beaches from Randwick. We're moving further up the coast. We're hearing it
and
more and more.
And the reality is the transaction is in the buy and the sell, or the sell and the buyer, whenever this is going to happen. The reality is it's a long-term move. So, you know, with the enormous cost of stamp duty, you don't get in and out of the property market to do it for a year or 3. You do it for generally minimum of probably 5, probably more like 10 years. And I think people realise also that if I'm buying, it really doesn't matter because I'm in the market for a long time. When I look back 10 years later, it's going to be irrelevant whether I bought then, you know, 6 months before or 6 months after. Let's just get shit done.
100%. But what I'm seeing now that's different is there's 2 things that are being asked all the time, and I'm hearing it time and time again. So from vendors, they're saying, Lisa, can we get a longer settlement just in case we're locked in and we can't move in 6 weeks? Or we can't find something to buy, can we negotiate a longer settlement that we can bring in?
Yeah.
That's being asked all the time. And where the buyers used to go, oh, I don't want to wait 12 weeks or 16 weeks. Now they're like, that's fine. You know, that works for us, and we're able to be flexible if the vendors want to move the settlement in. Guys, this is a really important note to take away. Settlement periods are negotiable. So even if a contract states 6 weeks or 8 weeks, you can request a longer or a shorter settlement. So
even in an auction,
in any scenario, all right. So as long as it's mutually agreed by both parties, it's fine. Now, with these longer settlements, it's giving everyone peace of mind. It's giving the seller peace of mind because they're going, thank goodness I've got a bit of breathing space. In the event I'm locked in here in Sydney and I can't get up to Port Macquarie where they might be buying, you know, it's giving them that peace of mind. The buyer's happy as well because they're also going, you know, maybe they haven't sold yet. You know, maybe they don't have their finances sorted yet because that's also taking quite some time at the moment. So it's giving everyone a bit of breathing space. Mark, the other pattern that I'm seeing is that sellers are buying first before they're selling. That used to be the big no-no,
they're
right?
so confident. Big no-no. But they're just so confident that to dispose of their property, they're going to get a corker of a price. Great agent or not a great agent, they know that it's going to be sold. Whether they get a good price, well, that's another thing. But, yeah, definitely before, you're not getting stuck with your property like you used to.
No, well, see, people are worried that they're going to sell for this rock star price and then that they're worried that they're not going to be able to go out and find something because of the low levels of stock, and then they're worried that the market's going to shift and that they're going to be outpriced. So many people are going out, they're getting deposit bonds. We're seeing them more and more, and they're using release of deposits as well, in many cases, but they're going out and they're buying before they're selling. So again, we are seeing that more and more. Remember, guys, these terms are all negotiable as long as both parties agree. But Mark, just getting back to what we're talking about tonight, who would buy or sell during a COVID lockdown, which is what we are here in Sydney? Thankfully, we're allowed to show property. Thankfully. It's a logistical nightmare, I'm not going to lie, and any agent that's watching, I'm sure you're all agreeing with me. The logistics around doing these one-on-ones is really tricky. However, we are so grateful for Small Mercies. The fact that we're even able to show these properties one-on-one is phenomenal. Actually, that might make for a really great session, Mark, how agents are actually managing these one-on-one inspections. I'm interested to hear how other agents are doing it. I think we've got quite a good strategy for ours, actually.
You know what? Another thing, Lisa. I had some discussion today with Goodev from Paris and Baz. We were talking about financing, and he's a mortgage broker. He's absolutely inundated with loans. Now, at the end of the day, I think loans were possibly going to go up. We saw fixed loans move just before this last lockdown, 3 months ago, 2 months ago. So I think the reality is money was just about to get not expensive, but more expensive than what it was. And I think it's also locked in cheap money for a little bit longer. So I think a lot of people are actually going, I don't mind buying that property or making that move because there's this little bit of confidence that there's cheap money there. Certainly reporting from him that the amount of applications that are coming in, the amount of money people are willing to borrow through this period is still at a record high. So I think that then comes back to what we're saying. Who's buying? People that are funded.
Absolutely. Not only that, Mark, you showed me some interesting data before. And I've become a data girl. I don't know I've changed. I've definitely changed. I never used to like numbers, but there is half the amount of stock on the market currently than there was this time last year.
Huge.
That is insane. Guys, sellers, listen, half the amount of stock is on the market currently to what there was last year. There is no shortage of buyers. Right? If you heard what I said at the beginning of the segment, we are dealing with the cream of the crop buyers at the moment, and these guys are willing to overpay for your property. So, this is an absolutely pristine time to be getting your property on the market.
So owners are not selling. On average, the trend of an owner, if I had to notice a trend, it would be wait until COVID lockdown's over. Completely logical. But what's actually happened is the buyer hasn't done that. The buyer says, well, I've actually got more time because I'm locked down. I've actually got my finance approved. I'm just going to buy something because, I'm going to be paying more later. So buyers are definitely paying an absolute premium for that privilege. Sellers are not taking advantage of that premium because they're saying, oh, we'll just sell it later. Now,
Mark, that is a really, really good point that you just made.
Yeah.
No, that's a really, really good point. The fact that
thank you very much, Lisa. Back.
No, but it is the fact that sellers are going, I'll just wait till the lockdown's over for obvious reasons. They may not want people coming through their property. They may want to wait until the lockdown's over, thinking there's going to be more buyers, but the buyer numbers haven't slowed down. So we're dealing with the same level of buyers. In fact, we're dealing with a better quality of buyer. That's what I want to call it. A better quality of buyer. And we're dealing with half the amount of stock.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I cut you off. Continue.
It's all right. No, I forgot what I was going to say now. Don't worry about it.
I knew you were going to say that. But, that's the reality, guys. Now, I was thinking to myself the other day, why is there not as much stock on the market? And I think there's a few reasons. Obviously, the COVID lockdown, there's people there, like, you know, and fair enough. They just don't want a realm of people coming through their property, even though we are doing the one-on-ones at the moment. They don't want, you know, a whole lot of people walking in and out of their property. And then, you know, we've got, and then there's a great deal of people that are saying, well, I'm going to sell for this rock star price. Where am I going to go? Because the next step up is actually so huge. The gap is so massive that I can't afford anything once I sell, right? And then they're also looking on the real estate portals going, there's no stock. I don't know what I'm going to buy. That's a conversation for a different time, because I don't know that that's a true test of what's on the market anymore. I think there is property out there. It's just not all on those portals. You need to know where to find them. Again, that's a conversation for another day. But, you know, and, you know, there's some of the reasons why I think, Mark, we're not seeing these huge levels of stock on the market at the moment. But yeah, no, it is. It's really, really, really interesting what's going on with the market at the moment. Really interesting.
And digging deep on who the hell buys, they're not even particular. Look, they're probably, the people that are buying are from industries that are unaffected. So these guys are employed, and they're employed by industries that are unaffected, that's for sure. People that buy, they've got time at the moment, which we discussed at the beginning. People that buy are funded. They've got their finance in place. They organised it a couple of months ago. It's sitting there, need to get it done. People that buy are confident that they can read the play from the last pandemic to this pandemic, and they know what's going to happen, enough to have that confidence to put their money where their mouth is. People that buy are male, female, all different races, creeds, everything. So I really can't narrow it down more than that, Lee. So I reckon that's definitely the people that are buying in the marketplace, and they don't need a lot of convincing either from me. They're convinced. They just got to find the right place. Yep.
But you know what else is interesting during this lockdown is hardly anyone mentions COVID. And like, obviously, guys, we see the numbers. We're not silly. We're very aware that we're right in the midst of a pandemic, and that the numbers aren't great. But the buyers, they're not mentioning it. I don't hear buyers talking about COVID and what's going to happen to the market. They're just saying, Lisa, I need to buy a property. What have you got? Can you help me? I need something off market. I'm ready to go now. I'm ready to go unconditional. I've got $2.5 million. What have you got? They're not talking about COVID or what do you think is going to happen in the market. Very different conversations to what we were having last time. Yeah, it's really interesting. But as I said, Mark, I did a huge amount of calls today. And so many of my vendors that were going to come on with me toward the end of the year are now saying, you know what, things have actually changed. Thanks. We appreciate the call because we were wondering what was happening in the market. And if you're saying that it's still busy and there's still buyers out there, we're thinking we might come on now. So stay tuned, guys, because I am going to have some awesome stock coming on as well.
A buyer conversation that I had today, someone had buying in this pandemic, interesting question she asked me, Ashley's her name. She said, how high to the top? Now, I know you don't know, Mark, but how high to the top? And I went, what do you mean? She said, okay, I'm going to buy an unbelievable one-bedroom unit. How much is that going to go up when it hits the peak? Interesting question from buyers that they're thinking at the moment. What do you reckon?
You know, I thought that we'd actually reached the peak a few weeks ago, and I thought I did start to see property prices plateau out. But particularly in the last sort of week, I've really changed my tune on that. It started to move again, the market. So I listed a property last week in Camaray. Yes, out of area, but this vendor saw some of the stuff that I was doing on socials and wanted me to sell their beautiful home. And it was a 280 metre squared house. And I was guiding $3.6 million on it. And we ended up selling it within the week for 3.91, which was a huge price. In fact, per square metre, I think it's the highest price in the area. So 280 metres squared in Jenkins Street, Camaray. Freestanding houses have been selling in the area, big freestanding houses, 500 plus, metre squared have been selling in the area for those sorts of prices. And I've seen a few of those. We had a big week of sales last week. And every single one of those sales, I was like, oh my God, I can't honestly believe that apartment or that house got that kind of money. It's huge. So I've seen this market start to take off again. The low level of stock and the cream of the crop buyers that are out there are driving it. They're driving it. So what's going to slow it down again is stock coming to market. When's the stock going to come to market? I look at my crystal ball and I say, when we're coming out of COVID lockdown and the weather warms up, I think that the floodgates are going to open and we are going to see a decent amount of stock come to market. And that's when they'll start to level out. That's a really long-winded answer to your question.
That's the longest answer
I know.
to any question I've ever asked
Mark,
you.
can we talk
Wow.
about,
There was a lot of words that were in there. There was a lot of words, and I got lost, but came back on a couple of occasions. But
can we talk about your lockjaw? What's wrong with your Mark's got lockjaw. Let's talk about what's going on. I think Mark and I have been married. Mark and I have been together for a really long time. You've got something in your mouth.
Anyway,
you've
what
got
about
an ulcer or something, or a sore tooth. Sorry.
So
Something on your tongue.
what do I think about the market, and how did I answer that question today? You're probably wondering. Thanks for asking, Lisa. I reckon, and you know how I put this? I was like, a kick-ass one better is 800 grand today, like in DY. Kick-ass, DY Northern Beaches. And I said, I reckon when it gets to about $1 million, that's going to be the market and it's going to level off. So I reckon it's got about 20% to answer your question.
Still to go.
And and I reckon then it's just going to calm. It's going to calm its farm. Boys and girls and ladies and gentlemen, do not forget, we have doubled in 1 year, in 9 months, in the early 80s. We then did it again in the late 80s. Most of you, half of you would not remember this. Half of you should remember this. The market in 10 years went up double and double again. That's 200%. So we, believe it or not, and I know you hate this, Lise, because I'm a data man, but I'm going to use my powers of data with this. Our rolling 10-year average at the moment in Sydney and across most suburbs in Sydney is sitting at about 140%. That means in 10 years, if it was 100%, that would be double. We're sitting at 140% across most suburbs. If you don't believe me, write your suburb to me in this post here live, and I will actually report back to you live what your suburb's done, or after the show. Fact is, the market has still got gas in it. And you know what I said to this client today? It doesn't matter if you buy at the top of the market. If you buy at the peak and then sell at the next peak, it's 10 years. If you buy at the all-time low and then sell at the all-time low, it's double. Yeah. If you buy at the all-time high and you sell at the all-time high, it's double. So at the end of the day, the art is not when, where, how. It's how long are you going to be in the market to double your money, quadruple your money, triple your money.
Very good point. And guys, can I just finish off by saying that if you are a seller and you're watching this and you're thinking, I'm still a bit unsure about selling during a COVID lockdown, even after we have assured you that properties are selling and they're getting big money, we offer a $0 marketing strategy. There's no risk. I'm signing something up tonight, Mark, on exactly this. Just saying, guys, you know what? Give it a go. Give me a 14-day agreement on my $0 marketing strategy. All the risk is with me. I'll do your photos. I'll put a signboard out the front of your property or not if you don't want one. I'll put it onto my social media. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? We're going to get you a great price. And if we don't, then you can just relax back into it and wait until you're comfortable to fully come on the market. Dip your toes in and test the market. We offer that $0 marketing strategy. It is a fabulous, trialed and tested strategy. 70% of my properties are sold using that strategy. Fact, documented evidence on my social media, realestate.com. God bless them. Let me put the solds up on their site. So that's a really great strategy for Mark, for people that are sitting on the fence and are a little bit unsure. I think that's a wrap.
I call it a discovery process. So
Yeah.
if you are unsure, we can run you through a qualified discovery process, and you can go, oh shit, that's a good price. Now let's put it on realestate.com. Or, oh shit, that's a really good price. I want to sell it. It's free.
There you go. That's it from us, guys. So who would want to buy and sell during a COVID lockdown? Plenty of people. Absolutely plenty of people. This lockdown has certainly not affected our property prices. That is a very, very important note to take away. I think that's it from us, Mark.
That's it. That's what we're saying on the street. Have a great
That's
night.
correct.
Thanks for your time, everybody watching.
See you
See you later.
guys. Bye.
Bye.